Hi, and welcome to another episode of Yomp TV, and I have to say we are really privileged to be doing this episode from the City of London here at the Skinners Hall, right in the epicentre of the traditional City of London. Now, the City of London is a city within a city, and it's basically the square mile where everything happens in the city. But people think square mile, they're thinking big tower blocks, big, glass buildings and all the rest of it. Actually, these are the original city guilds, where the leaders of each industry sector would come together and talk about things like taxation, things like industry standards, apprenticeships, and work within their industry sectors. So you would become a freeman of the City of London as a member of a city guild. So that's what we're at today. So it sounds a little bit like a pat on the back, secret handshake club, but it's not. It's the old sort of trade standards for each industry sector. So this being the Skinners Hall, obviously you can tell how old it is. In fact, Samuel Pepys in 1660, the guy who talks about the Great Fire of London, actually referenced this in his books. So that's how old it is. And obviously Skinners were the people who made the clothes for people, traditionally their hats and all the rest of it. So that's why they can afford to have these massive buildings in there. Now today it's sort of a smaller sector, but still very influential within the, not necessarily within the industry sector and the city itself, but it is an old city guild and city livery company. Now the reason why I want to actually have this conversation today is that people say to me, oh, I network and there's only sort of one-man bands and small-man bands when I go to my little local networking things or my local commerce, Chamber of Commerce events or FSB, Federation of Small Businesses. I say, well, that's because yes, you need to go and talk to small businesses and need to actually work within your networks and your local network. But if you actually really want to get bigger businesses, and I always hear people say, oh, I need bigger businesses, I need bigger, clients, then why don't you go out and actually look at where they could be? So for us, we work a lot with the fuelers. So this is a fuelers tie. Tim and I, who own Yomp, we're both members of the Worshipful company of fuelers. And how did we do that? Well, we started working with a small oil company, and then from that small oil company, we started working with a few bigger oil companies because the word spread. We then got involved with a company of fuelers up in the city, which has got all the people from people like BP, Shell, ATH, big oil companies, big resource company, and the fuelers also have the new wave of fuelers, which are solar panel companies, wind turbine companies. So we're now networking and being members of parts of companies that are huge multinationals. We work with AIM-listed companies that we get introductions through these livery companies. And it isn't, I'm not talking Masonic Lodge, this has nothing to do with this. This is actual city companies, industry sectors coming together. It's really important to point out, this is business, but in a social environment within the city, the square mile. So if you have ever asked that question to anybody, I need to work with bigger businesses, then expand your horizons, look at what's happening when the city's near you, look at things like city livery companies, look at things like the Institute of Directors, look at the bigger networking things, talk to your local MP, they can actually point you out on these bigger occasions. Get in there, bite the bullet, go for it, because it's exactly like anybody else. It's people having a couple of drinks, having a little talk, listening to things that are interesting for the sector and going for it. So, from somewhere that Samuel Pepys stood in 1660, it's another episode of Yomp Marketing with Richard Woods signing out. Boom.
Sick.